What's poppin', everybody? Week 4 of the National Football League is already here. I can't believe how we're flying through the season. But Jake, what's going on, brother? How are you? Welcome back for a Wednesday edition. How was your week 3?
It's an honor to be here. Week 3 wasn't terrible. Lots of ups and downs. I mean, just some crazy, crazy games. Like, I should have had a very profitable day, and some things bit me in the ass there at the end, as they probably did a lot of people, or a lot of people were very happy with those outcomes. So it depends on what side you're on. But that's the name of the game. I mean, I'd rather see, as much as my money being on one side or the other, I like to see entertaining games like that. So, I mean, another good week of football. All in all, like, betting aside, another good week of football in my eyes. So it's exciting to see. And it's exciting to see some teams that, like the Green Bay Packers, you think that they're going to be a powerhouse and they go into Cleveland and they lose in that fashion. You see some teams that you think are going to be rollovers and, you know, they might turn it on now. So it's an exciting point of that season where no one's really out of it, and predictions are going in and out the window.
Absolutely. This is the time where we've talked about this a few times on the show where, like, yeah, you could have a really strong prior that, like, a team sucks in the beginning of the season, or you think they're going to be really good. And we talked about how through week 1, that doesn't really make a difference. Through week 2, it doesn't really make a difference. And same thing for week 3, right? Like, we know, like, the Colts, for example, like, we're going to talk about every single game on the board, so I'm not going to give out too much. Like, yeah, they're 3-0, they're killing shit, beating up on some decent teams in the process as well. But then it's like, how good do you really think the Colts are? How good do you think they're really going to be moving forward?
Is it attainable, you know?
Yeah, that's all the stuff that is going to be, TBD as we go through the rest of the season. Hard to really have any strong thoughts on some teams, of course. That's where you can find some edges if you think a team is still clearly overpriced or underpriced in the market. But that's the market, and that's the game that we play. So without further ado, Jake, let's talk about it. For everybody in chat, we are going to go through every single game on the board. We're going to talk about our best bets on the game. We'll look at some props if they exist already. I actually haven't checked the prop board, but using the Fantastic Outlier, I'm going to go through and see what props exist currently. And this is going to be more of, again, like a holistic overview of the games from Jake and I's perspective. We're going to, as you can see, we do have some props up absolutely on Outlier, which is great to know. So if we do have any strong thoughts there, we'll talk about them. But the point of the Wednesday show always is to go through the games, give out our best game line bets for early this week, as well as some early looks, maybe to get some CLV in the prop market. And then tomorrow on stream, talk about Thursday Night Football. Friday on stream, another run through with more confidence. And then Sunday, of course, final use of all the best bets. So without further ado, Jake, Seattle,
I have a question. Before we kick things off in the NFL world, can we this used to be an MLB show this Wednesday night. What do you say we just jabber a little bit about the MLB really quick? Because there's a lot of stuff heating up, okay? There's a lot of jabber that we had back and forth, months ago about what was going to happen. You're asking me if I was nervous about the Yankees, who just clinched the playoffs. Should we quickly assess that? The Cleveland Guardians are making, like, a run out of the blue, and Detroit is, like, doing the complete opposite. There's some crazy stuff going on in MLB. I don't know if we want to resurface that really quick because it's getting to the nitty-gritty there.
I personally have no interest, but we'll gladly hear you out if there's anything you want to talk about.
Oh, man. No, I just wanted to bring up how you thought that the Tampa Bay Rays were going to come for the Yankees and the AL East, and they did go on a cute little run there, but
it was a cute little run. That's the best way to describe it.
I always keep things I'm like a sponge. I just absorb everything. Then when it comes back around, I have to make sure it comes out,
Absolutely. You deserve to talk all your shit, Jake. I was off the Yankees on the Rays. The Rays are about to lose me every single future I had on them. And the Yanks, of course, making the playoffs. Confirmed, and they still have a chance for the East. But with that being said, I think while I love baseball,
I digress.
It's football season. So Cardinals, Seahawks right now, NFC West. Of course, both these teams are 2-1. I do want to look at the money line market for a quick second here. We did see a good amount of movement in these odds of this. It was a complete flip, it looks like, from where Seattle was on the money line to where they are now. Looking at the outliers charts here, going all the way back to look ahead lines, which of course don't really matter in context, but this was a game where Seattle was a dog, kept that way for a long time. Odds got even higher as we saw the Sam Darnold up and down go. And then now, as we're getting much closer to game time here, seeing it in a complete flip with Seattle actually being the favorites here on the road in Arizona. plus 113, best odds for Arizona, minus 115 here at Profit X, the best odds for Seattle. Both teams 2-1, both teams playing well to start the season. Jake, let's talk some Thursday night football. Tell me where your head is at for this game on Thursday.
I have a play locked in, Eric. I actually took Seattle on the money line. I did get it at minus 115, so it's good to see that it's still there. I do see, it's a little more juiced on some books too, closer to 120, 125, 130. But I got it at 115. Like you said, it's an NFC West matchup, so always excited for any divisional games, honestly. Now, I did a breakdown based on these offenses and defenses. Seattle, they've been able to throw the ball pretty well. Arizona, on the flip side, they have a pretty good pass defense this year. I mean, they're 11th in offensive opponent passer rating allowed. Seattle's 8th in passer rating. But where there is a little bit of a mismatch is Seattle, they've been struggling to run the ball. And Arizona has been pretty decent in preventing the run. So I don't see Seattle running the ball too much, but I do think they're going to be able to pass the ball. On the other side, though, we have an Arizona offense that's pretty much middle of the pack, if not a little below average. And now they just lose James Conner. But this is where the mismatch comes in for Seattle. Seattle against opponent passer rating, they're 6th in opponent passer rating so far to start the season, and 3rd in yards per carry allowed. And I know that's not like the stat that you love the most, but they're only allowing 3.2 yards per carry on the season so far. With no James Conner, I don't think Arizona is going to be able to run the ball at all. And if they're relying on the passing game, Marvin Harrison's dropping balls that are in his chest. So I don't think that that's fully there, and it's definitely not enough for them to win this game. Arizona should have no run game. This is a huge mismatch for the Seattle defense, in my opinion. Plus, Arizona, they've played New Orleans and Carolina, who they beat by 7 and 5. And then they lost to a Mac Jones-led San Francisco team last week. Much different, and this is a much different comparison when it comes to the quarterback position. Like, Sam Darnold is much better than any of those positions. I actually am going to share a touchdown score for every game here, which brings me to my touchdown score that I like in this game. I think Cooper Kupp gets into the end zone for the first time. I see it at plus 295 on DK. And I want to make a full disclaimer. I'm not playing every single one of these touchdown scores. I'm going to put like 0.1 units on it just to track them, because I am curious to see how well, if I am going to place one touchdown score per game, how profitable that could be at the end of the week. So nothing crazy. Don't quote me on playing all these touchdown scores that I'm about to list today, but Cooper Kupp is going to get in the end zone, I think. Seattle's also coming off of a dominant couple wins. New Orleans, Pittsburgh, which I know Arizona also beat them, but not in the fashion Seattle did. And then a loss to a Brock Purdy-led San Francisco team. So I like Seattle on the money line. I think they went outright. I think they have the better quarterback. I think they have the much better defense. And I think this James Conner injury is going to be a much bigger hit to this Arizona offense than people think. I think he was the heart and soul of that offense. So I think anything under minus 120, minus 125, it's worth it to play him on the money line, or even take the points if it's around 1.5, 2.5. I don't mind that either. So where I'm at.
So I'm on the same side as you. I think this is a Seattle spot, but I don't think I think of the game like too much differently than you. Like, I do agree with like most of what you said. I think the real things for me with being on Seattle. So for starters, like, I think Sam Darnold is absolutely due for a stinker sometime soon, but I just don't think it's going to be this week. The Cardinals' inability to run the ball with James Conner out now, like, it's been a whole season situation where their guards play is just absolutely horrible. They had no run game going, but this is just something for everyone's back pockets. Might not be blowing up this week, but be moving forward. I think Trey Benson's really good. We hit over his rushing prop last week. He had 25 rushing yards. I know Connor left that game early, so that did lead the way for Benson to get more touches, though I'm not entirely sure what his splits in terms of yardage were before and after Connor went out. So that being said, that did cash, but I don't think that, honestly, Benson is going to be like a really massive downgrade for the rushing game. But the problem is that the rushing game just stinks in the first place for Arizona. And like you mentioned, they've had some real serious issues with their receiving core. I think, and I will also talk about some touchdowns per game as well with you, Jake. I think it's a Trey McBride spot. I know Trey McBride's going to be a very popular scorer this week because of his history for those who are, head-to-head guys, but some of his, metrics against the Seattle defense, 12 receptions last year in one game, 7 in the other game, receiving yards, going nuclear 133 and 70. I think that's just a function of how the Seahawks play defense, and they're going to actually have Devon Witherspoon this season be playing, so they're going to get some help in that secondary. But that's going to help them on the outside. So for me, he got into the end zone last week, Trey McBride. I think it's another game where they just absolutely continue to funnel him the football, as you could see by Trey McBride being the number one person in targets for this Arizona offense so far this season. But back to the overarching game here, I see why the line flipped. And I think that Arizona, while I have futures on Arizona, I think they're going to be a very good team. Shout out to Cleve TA. He had Gannon COY. I rode with him on that as well. I do think the Cardinals are good. I just think that Seahawks, what they can do with their defensive line is going to really give the troubles to Arizona if they can't run the ball that they couldn't do in the early going of the season here. As you take a look here on Outlier, 16th in rushing yards, which again, really not that important of a stat, but their success rates have been a lot lower trying to run the football. And Sam Darnold's been playing really good football. I think that, again, that is due for a blow up eventually. I am with you, Jake, here that I guess this is a dual play at this point. I am on Seattle money line. I think Seattle absolutely wins this game tomorrow night. I know on the road, the market movements, also support where my numbers are at, because I did think I liked Arizona a little bit, coming into this spot before, seeing what transpired. I don't really knock Arizona for losing to San Francisco without, Purdy. Also how they, almost let the Panthers back in that game and barely beat the Saints. I think Arizona is still a good team, and good is of course relative. I mean, a 9-8 type of football team. I don't think they're elite or a really crappy team. But Seattle showed me a lot so far this year, and if Kyler Murray can't do anything too great to this Mike Macdonald defense, that's going to be finally healthy for this year and has actually been playing at a great level. I think it's a Seahawks spot, absolutely.
Yeah, and I was high on Arizona going into the season too. I took them week 1 against the Saints -6.5. They made me sweat that out. But also, Bosa got hurt in the middle of that game with San Fran. So that's another big. They arguably had their best player on both sides. Well, I guess Christian McCaffrey on offense, hurt or out. They did the last 2 weeks. I mean, I just have no trust in them versus the last 2 weeks. What Seattle's been doing. If in a pick'em, if it was -3.5, -4, yeah, maybe I'm not touching it. But if you're at a money line, I couldn't not put a unit on it. So.
Gotcha. So for first game, both of us are in agreement on Seattle. We both also like for touchdowns, Trey McBride and Cooper Kupp. Again, we're just calling out players that we like in these markets for touchdowns, and we will confirm whether or not there's a play. That is something we actually bet. And Jake, did you actually bet Seattle just yet?
Yes, I did. I took them yesterday. I put a unit in at 1.15 units to win 1 unit. I got that on BetMGM.
Gotcha. Very nice.
Right now, I am in on them on the money line.
Profit X Seattle money line -115, best price in market. I am taking that bet as well. That is something that I absolutely am in on as an actual play. I needed to, I should say I needed to see, because the market flipped before I made a play. And again, I think I kind of liked Arizona. I think that's some of my bias there, because I have strong priors on Arizona because I did have them in some futures markets, but in this matchup particularly here, even though they're at home, I think that the Seahawks are the side here. So
does that mess with you sometimes, Eric, when you have a future on a team or a team total win or something, but then they're playing someone and you're like, dang, I kind of like the other side, but I would still love to see them win for my future.
So I don't think it messes with me per se. I just think that no, I try to keep them separate. And there are some situations, say we're talking, this was week 16 and Seattle, and I needed 2 more Arizona wins, and they needed to win their last 2 games. And even though unless I saw a massive edge in Seattle, but again, you're not going to see totally massive edges in the National Football League on game lines unless you're getting really good injury news or weather news. That's when I would probably sit out. But we're talking week 3. No, I like Seattle here, even though it does go against some of my future positions. I don't think that really impacts me entirely. And a follow-up point, and this is something that we'll talk about whenever these 2 teams square off, I do think the sequel of this game is going to come out to be a much different outcome than this first one. I think Seattle, because I think Arizona, holistically, if they're fully healthy, both teams, I actually would lean Arizona at this price. But considering how the first 2 games have transpired and the injury still for Arizona, I think this does give me value with Seattle. and I do agree with the market moves on Seattle here. So I'm curious if these teams, when they play their second time around, if there will be better injury news for Arizona, because I think like pound for pound, I do think Arizona is probably slightly a better team. But again, situationally, injuries right now, I'm in on Seattle here.
Good deal.
But let's keep rocking. We're going to Dublin, Ireland, if I'm not mistaken. I know this is overseas. I think this is the Dublin game, but Viking Steelers, Carson Wentz coming off a W where they put up a crazy amount of points. So a lot of that was scored on the defensive side of the ball, and Carson Wentz didn't do much but turn around and hand out the football. The Steelers came away with a win in Foxborough in a game where they just continued to do Steelers things. Their defense finally woke up, but we know the offense for the Patriots is something to write home about. But Jake, talk to me. First thoughts on Aaron Rodgers going against Brian Flores, and Carson Wentz and the Vikings going up against Mike Tomlin and A-Rod.
Well, first thoughts are, morning football is back, baby. There's nothing like Sunday consuming your entire day of football from morning till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So stoked for that. But Jordan Addison is back this week too. So I love Justin Jefferson's spots here. I trust Wentz to get their best player of the ball. And like I just said, Addison returning should take some attention off of Jefferson. He didn't have that 1-2 punch throughout the first 3 weeks here. And they didn't even have to throw the ball much last week because they were absolutely smoking Cincinnati. And Jefferson still had 5 catches for 75 yards on 7 targets. I do think that this will be a little closer of a game, obviously. The line indicates it, where the pass game will be in full effect. And I don't think Minnesota could rely on Jordan Mason rushing for 116 and 2 touchdowns or their defense scoring 14 points. So I think we see a very heavy dose of Justin Jefferson. Nothing is locked in yet, but obviously I like him as my touchdown scorer. I believe you can get it at plus 155 on Bet365 unless you have a better line somewhere. And I also like Justin Jefferson, 76 receiving yards, minus 114 on DraftKings. He just was a yard short of that this past week in a blowout win against Cincinnati. I don't see why he can't do it again with, maybe less double coverages with Addison back in a more competitive game where they're throwing the ball more. So I'm not really understanding that line, but I like it. I think this could be his first real breakout game. We know Wentz is capable of getting the playmakers the ball. He's done it throughout his entire career. I think he's actually a pretty handy backup. But as far as a side or a total, I don't know what the weather is going to be like, so I just stayed away from the total. Also staying away from the side. Obviously, totally left this out, but the Steelers' defense is not the Steelers' defense we thought it was. Maybe it will eventually at some point this season, but they have not looked good, and they look like they have some holes in that secondary, even with the players that they got back there. So I like Justin Jefferson to have his first big game. Everyone's going to wake up drinking their Bloody Marys, having breakfast, watching Justin Jefferson snap for like 10 receptions, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like I could just envision it right now. So that's where I'm at. No sides, no total or anything, but I do think Justin has his game here.
Gotcha. And it's hard to argue because the Steelers defense has been playing terribly so far this season, and they're a team that is relying on their talent to be what actually makes them burn. Like, for example, the Vikings, they might not have pound for pound the players that if you just looked at depth charts, you'd think, okay, the Steelers defense has to be better than the Vikings defense. Then you add in what Brian Flores does schematically, that what puts his players in the best positions to have some amazing games. But I think from a game line perspective, I haven't looked too much at props in this one just yet, so I'm going to stick to a holistic view here. I am torn, but I think this is a Steelers spot. I think this is a Steelers plus 125, as you see, is the best price in market here over at 365. FanDuel at 124 in a close second there. And I'll say this is a Steelers spot for a couple of reasons. Number one, Carson Wentz didn't do anything to inspire any confidence this past weekend. Yes, they had the big blowout, but again, so much of that was predicated on their defense making plays. And Carson Wentz did not have to do much, turn around and hand off the football a bunch and, make some easy throws when he had to make some easy throws. I know that Wentz is, an MVP at one point, I should say. It was in the MVP conversation for one literal season before it all went to shit for him. But only had 20 pass attempts in that game. Again, their defense had him in a situation where he didn't have to do anything so crazy. But he did get sacked 3 times still. And that is where I am concerned about Carson Wentz. Like Darisaw is back for the Vikings, and he is a key piece, of course, to their offensive line, and he still was sacked 3 times. And that's against the Bengals, who have just Hendrickson and really not a great D-line. I know the Steelers' D-line hasn't played so well so far this season, but I still think that this is like a talented unit that, like, if I had to bet if they're going to, like, eventually at some point, like, do good things, which you see still, like, tied for 10th in sacks per game, tied in 10th for sacks per game, as you see an outlier. Second in turnovers forced per game with 2.7 a game, which is the Mike Tomlin voodoo at its finest. Fourth in QB hurries and QB hits, and 7th in QB hurries, 6 for tackles for loss. So if Carson Wentz has to get into a drop back passing game, if the Steelers do come out and do well, A-Rod, of course, could be throwing in some tough situations with Brian Flores, who does create a ton of turnovers with the way he runs his defense, can put Aaron Rodgers into the a spot where he's confused because he can't move either. So if the Vikings are getting pressure and the Steelers are getting pressure, we could see an ugly-ass football game with a ton of turnovers on both sides there. So that being said, variance is being increased, and I know that the ghost of Aaron Rodgers, I like to talk a lot of crap about Aaron Rodgers because I think he is washed, and besides the Jets game, hasn't been really such a great look for him so far. But I think at this point, with the pricing being the ruler here, at plus 125, I think it's a Steelers game, and the total being so low, I think it might be a little bit too low. Like if this was like 43.5, like I love the under, but at 40.5, I kind of like the over here, as I do think that both of these teams, we could see like 2 turnovers each from a Darnold, from a Wentz, and from a Rodgers that could lead to short fields, could even lead to return for points on that spot there. But I think that this total is actually a tick too low at where it's at now, even though I don't think it's going to be like a slugfest. But back to the winner here, I actually think this is a Steelers spot at plus 125. I think Rodgers can overcome some of what Flores does, and I think this offense with DK, who looks kind of bad, but like Jaylen Warren, if they get him the ball in space in the passing game, he'll be able to make some things happen. And I think Carson Wentz, that while he played well overall in his Vikings debut, all he had to do was hand the ball off, and I don't think that's going to be the case this week. And him dropping back and passing, that's going to lead to potential turnover machine that he has been known for in his career. So I think that this is definitely a Steelers spot overseas.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't that kind of helps my claim. If they're losing, they're just going to be throwing the ball. It always rains in Dublin. Like it mists every year over there. So there's probably going to be some sort of weather. That's probably why the over under is so low. But and I'm pretty sure, was it last year? What was the year all the games overseas, especially in Ireland, wasn't there something wrong with the field, or am I making that up? Wasn't everyone slipping or losing their footing for?
That was Brazil last year, but there probably was something else 1 or 2 years ago in the NFL.
I remember there was multiple fields because football cleats and soccer cleats are slightly different, and they play in these soccer stadiums, and there was a lot of issues with footing and slipping and cutting, and yeah, it was kind of not the best. But yeah, no, I could totally get behind that as long as Justin Jefferson gets in the end zone and has himself a little bit of a day. It's all good.
So Jake is liking Justin Jefferson to do normal Justin Jefferson things. I am team Steelers in this one. I think they could pull out this W. I think that Carson Wentz, we're seeing the Danny Jones revival. We know what KOC did with Darnold last year and Josh Dobbs at certain points, and even JJ McCarthy for one quarter. I don't think that Carson Wentz, I think if he has to actually throw the football, that's going to lead to some sacks, and that's going to lead to some negative plays, as well as some turnovers in a high variance game with two teams that really aren't too far apart from each other. Give me the plus 125 chicken, honestly, all day, every day. So give me the Steelers on the road here. But let's go to the 1 p.m. slate. Lions-Browns. Now, this is a game that's going to be interesting for Survivor. I don't know, Jake, I don't remember. Are you in any Survivor pools this year?
I am not, dude. I'm in a ridiculous amount of fantasy leagues, guillotine leagues, best ball leagues, keeper leagues. I was I didn't even get to a Survivor league. So no, short answer, no.
Short answer, no. I'm in Survivor. I'm definitely leaning toward taking the Lions. I have 4 entries, so I might mess around with mixing it up. But that is going to be a good start. This was 8.5, by the way, when I looked earlier. So the fact that it's at 9.5, some love to the Lions. I had this Lions Ravens game totally wrong. The Ravens, of course, lost outright, and the Lions won outright and covered the spread there on Sunday. The Browns pull off the upset of the century. That's definitely a hyperbole there. Pull off a massive upset at home against the Green Bay Packers. We saw the special teams killing bets last week. If you were like a Packers teaser better last week, you're probably out of your mind seeing what happened there, as well as anybody who had them in Survivor or maybe like in a money line parlay or something like that. Browns defense has been one of the best in football, but something that I don't love to die on hills on, like home and away splits in any sport. I think in some cases it could be a little bit indicative, but overall, like it just makes a small sample size even smaller. And I don't think that that's really like the best way to go about certain things. But with that being said, the Browns, over the course of the Jim Schwartz DC era, are one of the best defenses in Cleveland. But when they go on the road, those numbers don't always stack up to how they normally are when Cleveland is playing outside of right on the lake in downtown Cleveland. So that being said, Jake, I personally think when it comes to the spread here at 9.5, I think it's probably a little bit too big. But overall, I do think that this is a game where the Lions, who clearly have not lost any mojo, even with Ben Johnson being gone, Aaron Glenn being gone, they're still cooking. And yes, the Browns' run defense has been really holding teams up. But again, that happens when they're in the land. I think on the fast turf here, even with Detroit coming off Sunday Night Football, I think the Lions, Monday Night Football, I think the Lions just run through them, honestly.
I'm on the complete same side. I actually locked this in yesterday, and I did get it at the 8.5. So I got it at 8.5 at -115 on FanDuel. I talked about this game yesterday on the Etoff show as well. And you just kind of hit the nail on the head. Detroit, they ball out at home. Cleveland, not the same when they're away. But overall numbers, like Detroit, Jared Goff is second in passer ratings so far this season. This is where Cleveland's defense is not good, though. They have not been good through the air. So let's just take note of that. Yes, they have the best run defense right now, but they're 25th in opponent passer rating right now. So I think Goff in the air show absolutely tears them up. Kind of opposite of what we just saw on Monday. They ran the ball all over the place, which I think they're still going to get theirs on the ground. I mean, Gibbs and Montgomery, the best 1-2 punch in the game, hands down. And it's not like they have a bad run game. They're 7th in yards per carry. But I can't even knock the Cleveland run defense right now because they've seen Chase Brown and a healthy Bengals team. They saw Baltimore with Derrick Henry, who just like loves to put the ball on the ground. And then they saw an elite Green Bay offense at the time, which what we thought with Josh Jacobs. So it's not like they're seeing bums and they're shutting down like Tennessee or bad running teams. The huge mismatch, like I just said, is in the air. I mean, Detroit will be home where they usually light up the scoreboard, especially through the passing game. Then you look at Cleveland on offense, dead last in a passing offense. So it's not like Detroit's passing defense is that great either. They've been pretty terrible to start the season, but they're not as bad as the Cleveland passing offense. And then Cleveland is 21st in yards per carry, Detroit 17th in yards per carry allowed. And I just can't oversee. I said this yesterday. I cannot oversee the Detroit defense last year, that first half of the season before they got all those injuries. They were a top defense in the league. They had those pieces back. I feel like it's only a matter of time before they start locking offenses up again. And what better time than at home versus probably the worst offense in the entire league. Detroit defense just said they haven't looked good versus Green Bay, Chicago, and Baltimore, but all of their numbers are still better than these Cleveland offensive numbers. What I highlighted is Detroit is 4th in time of possession. They are averaging over 33 minutes per game with the ball. I also think Detroit is just going to try to crush them to prove that Green Bay game a little bit. Obviously, Green Bay beat Detroit in good fashion, and then Cleveland beat Green Bay. And Dan Campbell's like that, man. He tries to send messages whenever he can. He'll run up the scoreboard just to prove like maybe that week 1 was a fluke. That this Cleveland team just beat Green Bay. I don't think anybody in the world thinks that Cleveland is actually better than Green Bay, but it's just those little statements that like he takes personal. I would play this all the way up to 10. So I think they beat them by like 3 touchdowns. I think they crush them.
Yeah, line 9.5 now. So 10 is definitely not out of the equation for where this game actually ends up closing.
Oh, sorry, Eric. And my touchdown is Sam Laporta at +200 on Bet365. My bad.
Jake looking at Laporta. I'm pulling up my touchdown. I think it's a Big G's JMO game.
Yeah.
The way that the Browns play a lot of man coverage, I think that we saw him get, the ball thrown to him early and often last game until The target share did go down over the course of the game. But like you mentioned, they had such a long drive where they were completely just milked the clock for a little bit with their run game. David Montgomery, of course, put on a show. Jahmyr Gibbs, anytime touches the football, is must-watch football because he is out of this world with his talent and his athleticism here. But I think it's a JMO game where the Browns defense, of course, like you mentioned, some of the stats of them on the defensive side of the ball not doing great against, 16th in passing yards allowed, as we see here, or that's offense here, 4th in passing yards allowed. But again, like I think they did have a lot of, benefit of playing 2 other games at home here in JMO, the way that they play their defense. Jim Schwartz is very aggressive. That's going to lead to some deep downfield balls and Jameson Williams thrives on there. So at 2-1 at DK, I love that. And you are going with Laporta here, plus 210 over at Hard Rock, best price in market as it stands. I'll write that down. Laporta at the touchdown.
This could be a game that everybody scores, Eric. We could see like a Montgomery, a Gibbs, a Laporta, a JMO, Amon-Ra. Like we could see them all score. So
absolutely. And because of how like immobile Joe Flacco is at this point in his career, which we all know is just the facts of the matter, the Lions pass rush doesn't do anything there. Like he is a statue in the pocket. I think they will have some fun, giving the ball to Judkins, letting him continue to do his thing. And the Lions defense, I don't think is grip any means if they have a quick passing game going, which I like to dump off a lot. But the Lions at home, I think that they're going to be able to find some big play success, which the Browns defense in the history of the Jim Schwartz era does allow some of those big plays, especially when they're on the road. And there's no worse place to play with this high-powered Lions offense. So I could see why you have them to cover, I think, in Survivor. Based on their schedule, too, I think I'm personally going to use all 4 of mine on Detroit this week and, move on and keep Buffalo for another week. And we'll talk about this Chargers game potential as well down the line here. But that's kind of where my head's at. So Jake played Detroit. I would look nowhere but Detroit, and then Laporta and Jameson Williams anytime scores. But got a bunch of games to go. Let's keep rocking. Chargers, Giants. Big news, of course, Jackson Dart making his debut. The simple question to start this off, Jake. Obviously, neither of us have any real information because we've never seen him play, nor could we say we've been to practice and saw what happens in that locker room and on that field. But if you had to, make a guess, is Jackson Dart an upgrade over Russell Wilson? And before you answer, not talking about all season long, whatever. I'm talking about just in New York. You could finalize your thoughts about what you think is going to happen on the season. I'm glad to hear your insight for the rest of the year. But gun to head right now, especially with the market telling you as it went to 6.5 after the news when it was at 6. It was even at 5.5 at one point. All in all, though, of course, with rookies, you never know. Is Jackson Dart an upgrade over Russell Wilson?
I don't think so. I think it's a bad spot to put him in right now, Eric. You have this game against a Chargers team that might be one of the best teams in the league. Then you have the Saints. That might have been a good game to start him out in. Then you go Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, 49ers right after that. Like they put him in right before like the gauntlet of their schedule. Maybe he's ready. You just said we're not at practice. We're not in the locker. We don't know what's going on. I think it was only a matter of time before this happened. Obviously, you have Russ that just came off of like a career game against the Cowboys. Now, mind you, it's against the Cowboys, but then he has this one terrible game. I think the end there where he was just like throwing the ball through the back of the end zone on 4th down. I don't know, like at least throw an interception, like at least put it in play and give someone a shot. You have to. That was just kind of pathetic. But I want to see him do good. I think him and Scatterboo in the backfield, I think it's going to be really fun to watch. I actually have a little bit of a risky play in this game too. Should I get into that, or what's your opinion on the whole Russ and Jackson Dart move?
Yeah, let me give a little monologue here quickly. So for starters, I don't think Jackson Dart's going to be very good. I see the numbers from a lot of like fantasy guys that Jackson Dart does bring a better ground element to this offense, so that's a good thing for like fantasy football and hopefully for them to manufacture some yards on the ground and make some things happen with the quarterback. Because like Russ, of course, in his heyday was a rushing quarterback or have that rushing upside, but as we know now, that's really out of his game. And hopefully Dart for them can bring that, back into existence here. But my like contrarian take, which I didn't think would be a contrarian take, but it clearly is. And like I see both sides to this argument. So I see a lot of people I'm not saying you were doing this, Jake, but I see a lot of people on Twitter who are like Giants fans more so, or even like fantasy analysts, like straight up bitching about the fact that his debut is coming against Jesse Minter, the great DC of the Chargers with a great defense. I, on one hand, understand it. It's like, why are you going to throw your guy into the wolves? Why are you going to feed him to the fire? Like you said, you could just wait one more week and have him play against the Saints. I call bullshit on all of that. Like, if you think one, a guy is better, two, he's going to be the future of your franchise, and three, your season's already over, and all three of those things, as we stand right this second
right
talking
there,
about it,
that third thing is what that.
You let him play football. You don't give a fuck if he's playing against Alabama or if he's playing a shitty team, or if he's playing against the Chiefs, the Chargers, who are looking like arguably the best team in the AFC now, one of the best defensive minds. You let him get those reps. You throw him out there and you say, okay, this is the hardest thing you're going to have to probably do this year, or at least one of the hardest things this year. And you learn and you get better and you let him become a better football player. Now, I know their offensive line is banged up and injuries are a big thing, and he likes to run the ball. And I'm thinking, knowing what he can do or what he did in college, like I think he's going to be a guy who's going to be a little bit reckless with his legs, where he's going to try to take a big shot and, try to extend the play and get out of the pocket and like not slide or go down. And he's going to get his clock cleaned if he does that, because the NFL, of course, there's a new speed than in college. So in that case, I think it's a little bit dumb if he doesn't, take care of himself. But I want to just bite back on the notion that, they should not play him this week because you're throwing him into the wolves. Like, dog, if this kid has any balls, he's going to have to play against the best teams in football. He's going to have to eventually beat the Packers, the Eagles, the Lions, the Rams, the Commanders, the Buccaneers. So guess what? And if they get to the Super Bowl, he's going to have to beat the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, or the freaking Chargers. So make him play football now. Let him play now. You think he's better now? He plays now. Cut the shit. So I feel pretty strongly about that, as you could tell, Jake. With that being said,
you got emotional there.
Bro, like,
and listen, I'm not disagreeing with you. Like, yeah, you definitely have to play the best of the best in this league. But as your debut as a rookie quarterback, like, how many times have we seen this go downhill for quarterbacks that could have possibly been pretty good? Like, Sam Darnold got put in way too early, and look, he was a backup quarterback, and now he's a gunslinger. Like, but I do agree with you. He's got to get in there. Now, you hit on a point. Point number 3. Are they just folding it in already this early, the Giants, and saying, you know what, another rebuild year? Like, let's just let our guys get experience. Cam Scatterboo is going to be our guy. Jackson Dart's going to be our guy. Let him and Neighbors build chemistry now. So, like, next season we can get a couple other pieces that can make us some sort of contender. Is that, like, do you think that that's where they're at? Are they putting him in saying, maybe you could turn this ship around for us and, like, take us to a wild card?
Absolutely the latter, because Brian Daboll's job is on the hot seat. There's only 32 NFL head coaching jobs, only 32 NFL GM jobs. So these guys want to hold on to their jobs no matter what and however they can. So they absolutely at least think, whether or not they believe it with their entire being, but at least they have some part of their body that thinks that he's going to be able to help them keep their jobs and potentially help them, make a run, and also get the media and everybody off their back, because Jake, as a Jersey guy, as a New Yorker, I know how the New York media, how dumb some of the people calling in are and how much schlack they get. Like, I'm sure, like, Philly media and New York media is some of the worst in that capacity, and that shit probably sucks to get heckled daily. But when you're the Giants, you deserve
it. From Boston down to frickin' Philly, like, you don't want to be a shitty player in any of those states. And
or a shitty coach. That also does not. That's the worst thing ever.
Be part of the franchise and be shitty. You don't want any of that. But I actually have a play that I do like. And that I was on Cam Scatterboo over 35.5 rushing yards last week, cashed with flying colors. I just already saw him, even with Tracy in, which he's doubtful to play this week anyway. Cam's going to be their guy, dude. Like, that guy is a freaking animal, and he's so fun to watch. Like, I don't even like watching the Giants, and I'm not a Giants fan, as you all know. But, like, this dude, I don't care. He makes the 3-yard gains entertaining in my eyes. With that being said, I'm going to ladder his rushing yards this week. So I'm going to put a unit on his over a 53.5 rushing yards. Right now, I got that on DK, DraftKings at -109. I'm going to put
let's see the liquidity, but keep going, Jake, because I want to.
Yeah. I'm going to put a third of a unit on him to get 65 plus yards at +155. And these are all hard rock lines that I got. I didn't even really search around for these. That's unresponsible of me, but I was just trying to, put them all in one spot. 0.2 units on 80 plus yards at +300. And then for him to have 100 yards, I'm going to put 0.15 units at +650. we have no clue what to expect with Dart's first start. It also seems like kind of a trappy line though. Like -6, I feel like everyone's gonna be hammering the Chargers. We just said they're probably a contender for the Super Bowl. They look like one of the best teams in the league right now. They're playing good teams, they're beating good teams, and they're doing their job. And like this line is under a touchdown to an 0-3 Giants team that like just switched up their quarterback and put a rookie in. I don't know. To me, it seems trappy. I liked the Chargers, but I was like, I can't touch this yet. Like, I'm not gonna pull the trigger that quick. Something's up. But one thing you can expect is Cam Skattebo is going to get tons of usage here. He was, like I said, just looking like the primary back, even with Tracy healthy. Tracy didn't practice today, and he's listed as doubtful. I doubt he plays this week, especially with the collarbone injury. And this Chargers defense, they struggle versus the run. That's one of their weaknesses that they do have. I think they're going to feed Cam, especially with a rookie's first start. And if the Giants do have any sort of lead or are in this game and it's somewhat close, I can guarantee you they will be running the ball to milk the clock, keep Herbert off the field. My touchdown is not Cam Skattebo because it's like -115, -120. It's crazy how big of a jump that made in 1 week. Yep. But I'm going to take the kid Jackson Dart to get into the end zone at +310. That's my touchdown play. Well, I'm not going to actually take it. It's not an official play. That's my touchdown score for this game. Give the rookie some confidence, man. Give him some momentum. Get him into the end zone in his first game. You just mentioned he could run the ball. He does have some legs. That's one thing he has that Russ didn't have. Something in my mind is thinking like they probably want to implement that a little more in this offense now, like sooner than later. So they're throwing him in there. We've already seen him in some packages here and there where he's running the read option. He's running the ball most of the time. But if they're feeding Cam, that does open up like a goal line read option. He's going to be rolling out on a bootleg with a run pass option probably. And mobile rookie quarterbacks tend to rely on their legs a little more in the first few games of the season. It's something they're comfortable with. It's something, that takes a lot of the thinking out of it for them.
Until they get freaking decked and then realize, holy shit, hold on.
Yeah. I mean, let's hope that they freaking slide or run out of bounds. I mean, maybe they're going to have to learn their lesson the hard way. But if he gets decked, hopefully it's going into the end zone. So I think I like that. I wouldn't say I like it a lot, but at +310, it might be worth a sprinkle. If I finalize it, I'm going to post it to the Better Process Discord. But that's my touchdown score. And then Cam Skattebo all the way up to 100 yards. I'm laddering that. And I don't ladder often, but I really think that it's a great spot for him to go nuclear.
So no debates there. I just personally, I was looking at Dart while you were speaking before I turned the screen over to let everybody see it. So it was actually a coincidence that you had Dart touchdown. I did agree that I think that Dart to score is like worth looking at because of everything you mentioned. I just think 310 is a little bit short. I would have liked it to be a little bit higher to like pull trigger on it personally, but like from a thought process perspective, I was thinking kind of very similar things to you because like even in my rant, I was talking about how he's going to give them some rushing upside. And if Skattebo, like he does profile, of course, as this bruiser, thumper, running back. I think that maybe does take away like any designed runs from Dart in the red zone, especially when you're within like the 5-yard line up to the 1, of course, because I think that like they probably feel confident enough to like, I call his Cam Skattebo Derrick Henry, which we saw also get shelled at the goal line a few times, but like he's a guy where you're going for one singular yard there. Like I think you do, or 1 to 5 yards, you feel probably pretty confident letting him, take that, goal line touch. Before I go into like my full breakdown of the game, which isn't really all too much more to say here, my touchdown's Ladd. I think that Ladd is so damn good. He's dealing with a little bit of an injury, and everybody's hyping about QJ and Keenan Allen, how good they've looked, and I guess they have. And shout out to them and shout out to everything LAC is doing. Shout out to Herbie. But I think Ladd at now with the pricing getting up to 170, where this was like 130-ish last week. I think that Ladd is fully in play for an anytime tutty, as he still is. I think they're alpha in terms of like best receiving option. But Jake, I know you mentioned you're a little bit suspect on the line here, and I think that this is something just to note for the Chargers. Now, I'm not betting them against the spread here because I don't know about what to expect from, Jackson Dart. I do think he's not going to be great. I think the Chargers could be the best team in the AFC now. I've really come a long way on them. Don't have their full schedule here, but I remember because I was looking at it earlier. Start the season in Brazil. Yes, they had some extra rest, but then they go to Las Vegas.
They go back up if you need anything.
Got you. Then they go back to Denver. Then they go home to play Denver. Now they're going to New York to play the Giants. Then they go back to LA. Then they go to Miami. So this team eventually, that fatigue is going to catch up to them. Like, it's inevitable. Like, this travel fatigue is eventually going to catch up to them. And I think it's possible that this is the week. Also with the Giants, defensive line, if they too can put pressure on Herbert, that could be, something very tough for Herbert, as like the Broncos D did do a really good job last week. Herbert just made some insane plays to elevate this team to the W and to the spread cover if you got the 2.5, where it was hanging for most of the week last week there. But I think that eventually the Chargers is going to be some wear and they're going to lose a game, not because they're like the worst team. It just that's how the NFL goes. Like, you're going to have a bad matchup, lose a game. I'm not betting the Giants. I'm not betting the Chargers here. I love Lad to do some Lad things here and score a touchdown. But again, my rant on the whole Dart thing, like, Dart should absolutely be playing if you, against Jesse Minter. He could put him in a blender, and like, that's the best way to learn, because on one hand,
welcome to the league,
the best experience you can get, and welcome to the league. Other hand, maybe you learn that this kid has no balls and stinks, and like, it's better to like realize your first round pick stinks today than 3 years from now when you pretend he's good, like they were doing with a bunch of other quarterbacks we've seen done throughout the league many times. So nothing gun to head here. Jake loves a Skydabu ladder and Dart to run one in. I think Lad turns up here and scores a touchdown in MetLife.
I love Lad, dude. Him and Herbert probably have the best chemistry in the league right now, I think. And it's so cool to watch that happen so quick. What?
Stafford Puka.
Oh yeah, that's true too. That's definitely up there. But I don't know, dude. Like, the way that Lad maneuvers a zone, like, remember, you know damn well, everyone knows damn well, like, the Kelsey and Mahomes like telepathy, where like they're just cranking down on routes, like, because they're open or they see a hole in the zone and they're both on the same page. Like, Lad and Herbert are they're in that same exact telepathy level right now, and I don't know how it's going to be stopped. The only other thing that I'll add to is, like, what made me be sketched out about that line, Eric, is Houston is -7.5. They should. Mm-hmm. I'll get into that game like when we get there.
It's the next one up, so this could be a great segue.
All right, great segue. I'll save the rant here, but Houston is -7.5 versus like the Titans, which not like the Titans are any world beaters, but you're telling me that the Chargers shouldn't be 7.5 versus the 0-3 Giants making a rookie quarterback change? Like, that's what sketches me out, is how is this line what it is? And with a Houston team that's looked kind of terrible, and
absolutely terrible.
You have a Chargers team that looks like a Super Bowl contender, and they're -6, -6.5 they were -5, -5.5, whatever they were to open, to a Giants team that like is probably on this close to the same level as the Titans, maybe a little worse, but you know what I'm saying. That's what I saw that. I'm like, something's not right here. It seems like trappy.
Yeah, I think it's probably, like, again, a byproduct of like unknowing, a byproduct of like the travel finally maybe catching up to them, because they've been moving and grooving all across the country, all across the freaking continent. Even they went to a different continent to play a different hemisphere type of situation for the Chargers there. And I think that could play a factor here. But I'm going to just piggyback on what you're bringing here. I don't know how the Texans are 7.5-point favorites. Also, I don't know how it went from 7.5 to 6.5 and then back to 7.5. So like, I at first was like, okay, this is odd, but it moved back and forth. We'll see it right here. 2:26 today, it was 6.5. So there was a little bit of back and forth here, some sharp action, I would have to assume, battling it out here. Shout out to Outlier for the odds history. It was 6.5. About 7 minutes later, hit a 7.5. Either that same group or a different group that agreed with the first group bet it back to 6.5, and then boom, an hour and a half or so later, about 2 hours later, got bet back up to 7.5. So no big.
I know what happened there, Eric.
Was there any news I missed?
Nope. I took the Titans plus 7.5, and that must have moved the line, because I'm a sharp. All right. With that being said, though, I actually took this last night, so I had nothing to do with the line movement today. So I got it at -122. That was on FanDuel. My touchdown scorer here that I like is Tony Pollard. I think you can get that at +135 on FanDuel as well. AFC South matchup, I just kind of went into a little bit of a rant on Houston how are they minus 7.5 to anybody? Like, they are not two scores better than anybody in the league right now, in my opinion. I don't care who they're playing. They can't throw the ball. They can't run the ball. It's another team with such high expectations. Now, Tennessee, on the other hand, I'm not like gassing them up. I don't think that they're anything special. Expected them to be a little better, but yeah, they're young with a lot of young pieces. It's going to take some time. No one expected them to make the playoffs here. Did we expect Cam Ward to be a little better? Yeah, probably. But we'll see. It's a long season.
Their head coach doesn't know the rules.
Yeah, that too. I mean, that was just absolutely terrible game management last week. That was, yeah. I mean, you're setting your team up for failure if you're making those types of decisions that aren't even like player involved. But yeah, I think Tennessee will have some success with Pollard on the ground here, though. One thing is the Houston defense, they're definitely below average in the run game. I also expect, this young Tennessee air game, I guess you could say, I knew that they were going to get off to a slow start. I just mentioned it takes a while to like build that chemistry, especially with a rookie quarterback. But week 4 to 6 is usually where you start to see like those weeds get picked and chemistry start to build a little bit. And all the pressure's on Houston here, dude. Like, Tennessee has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're going to worry about anything. I think they're going to be pulling everything out of the playbook. They need any type of momentum or like confidence that they can get right now. And like the Houston offense is nothing special. I think Houston might be able to run the ball as well, which if they're both running the ball and they're milking the clock, I think that works in my favor. Typically, if you're getting points with a team, especially over a touchdown, you love to see that clock just tick, 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 But both teams have also played 3 pretty good teams. So like strength of schedule is very similar here. It's not like there's like a giant difference between who they've played. I'll go back to my statement. Houston is in no place to be laying more than 1 score versus anyone in the league right now. If they win by 14, 21, 10, good for them. Like I do want to see them do good, but they've showed me absolutely nothing. They definitely did not show me any reason they should be a 7.5 point favorite to even the Titans. So that's where I stand. I did put a unit on it. And I like Tony Pollard to get into the end zone. His usage is going to be crazy. I mean, I don't even know who their backup is. I forgot his name, but he has like 4 carries. So I mean, Tony Pollard's in the game. He's getting everything. And until Taji Spear gets back, we're going to see a heavy dose of him. So it's not like a plus 300 touchdown score. It might be a touchdown score that makes the card. I just already have a play in this game. So there's a lot of games. I don't know if I'm going to double down and put them in a straight play, maybe a parlay or something. But yeah, that's where I stand here.
I'm with you. It's to me, it's not even about like is Houston 7.5 points better than anybody? Like, probably not. Like, I agree with that. It's just, how do you expect to win by 8 or more when you can't even score 10 points yourself? And to me, that's like kind of case closed, like enough said here. Looking at the offense for Houston, as you see, 32nd in scoring. They average 12.7 points per game. That is ridiculously low. They cannot score the ball in the red zone. Now, I will at least caveat that by saying red zone efficiency and red zone scoring, offensive and defensively, is a variance-driven aspect of the game, while everything in football is. It also is just a high variance thing, so you could expect there to be some regression to the mean for them to convert some of these, red zone situations. But Stroud's offensive line might suck. Stroud might suck. And if it's not Nico Collins, who at least is going to see L'Jarius Sneed, who is a good cornerback, who is going to be able to make things happen for this team. They're 2 rookies they drafted aren't doing absolutely anything. Nick Chubb, unfortunately, like, shout out to like a GOAT of our football lives if you're around Jake and I's age. Like, he's a legend. Sucks that he sucks now, unfortunately. Maybe they're going to give the ball to Woody Marks more, and that actually, I don't know if there's odds up, but Woody Marks has been seeing his usage go up in the last couple of weeks here. So his touchdown is now plus 210, or it's at 375 or 365. You have a 365 account. And this is there. Like, that's just so much better than market. That's like an auto bet, regardless if you think he's going to be good. I actually was hoping these odds would be a little bit better, so I'm actually probably not betting that. I actually love your Pollard play because they just feed him so much. And the Texans haven't gotten gashed on the ground, if anywhere. I like another under here. I think it's a rock fight. 38.5. I can only see this number going lower here. I would have to bet Tennessee if I had to bet this game, which I'm not. I wouldn't bet Houston in Survivor. I know their defense is like ridiculously good, and it's going to probably have Cam Ward in the blender all day. And the only way that the Texans probably cover this game is if they do score one or maybe even two defensive touchdowns, which is not out of the equation. Don't get me wrong. Or a kick return as well. But no, the Titans, they're just so poorly coached. Their offensive line stinks. Cam Ward has not shown any really signs. Their offense realistically quit. And not going to belabor this. I agree with you, though. The Texans just should not be laying 7.5 points. When you can't score more than 12 points a game, we were supposed to, like, what, they're going to win 14-0 and cover 7.5? Like, I guess that's possible. Like, don't get me wrong. It's absolutely possible. But I don't see it. The Titans score one touchdown. You really expect the Texans to score 17? Like, that's like asking for like the Jets to win a game. That's like asking for the Giants. It's at the point where it's like, you know, this team is in danger of going 0-4 realistically, and they're definitely in danger of not covering the spread. So I'm with you here. I think it's just a kind of a perplexing line, but unless you have any final
thought, man, he was great until like both of his knees like got crushed, but
yeah, everything just happened.
Or the same knee, I think. Yeah, poor guy, but maybe Joe Mixon coming back will save their season.
Unfortunately, I'm bearish on that being the case there. I think their offense, the acquisitions they made this summer, most of them are not even on the team anymore, or they are not playing well. They only have like two guys that they picked up this offseason, maybe three or four that are doing well. Kirk's been hurt all freaking offseason, all season to start. He played a little bit last week. Belaboring the point there, I'm with you straight up. There's no way that the Texans should be laying those points. And I'm surprised the market has kept it there as well. But Jake, Eagles, Bucks, the Eagles get the win and the cover of a lifetime, one of the worst beats in recent memory. Of course, those beats are, happen in the NFL and in any sport. But as a Rams backer, that sucked a lot. I had money line and ATS. But the Bucks, who just can't stop making things happen in the fourth quarter of games down the stretch. Baker Mayfield through 3 weeks playing like an MVP level. The Birds are undoubtedly better, but this being 3.5 shows really how close the market does think these two teams are, though it won't get below that number of 3, which is, of course, a key number here. Jake, any plays in Buccaneers-Eagles?
Not yet, but I have a really strong feeling I will place this bet relatively soon. I do like Tampa Bay on the first half money line. I got that at plus 130. Well, didn't get it yet, but right now it's at plus 130 on DK. I mean, both of these teams are coming off some gutsy wins. Last week when we were on this show, I was actually talking about Philly and how they would react to adversity. I was lucky enough, and I played the Rams on the first half money line last week at plus 140. That cashed. But remember, I was like, Philly hasn't gotten punched in the face yet. I could see the Rams coming out, punching them in the face, and like, how are they going to react? I personally think that they're not going to come back. I think that they might crumble and get like an L handed to them, but I was wrong. And Tampa Bay had, some adversity there at the end of the Jets game, as we all know, that they were able to overcome. Baker Mayfield, you got to give it to the guy. It's like he lives for those situations, dude. He got to be confident when he has the ball in his hand there late in the fourth quarter. But I do like Tampa Bay at home here, especially in the first half. I equally do not like Philly Philly in the first half and how they've been starting games. They've yet to cover a spread in the first half. They're 0-3 in the first half against the spread in the first half here. Now I know I'm taking the money line, but that's because I'm greedy and I do like the value. And on the flip side, Tampa is 2-1 against the spread this season in the first half. So I do like that value on the money line. My touchdown that I like is Bucky Irving to get in at plus 115 on DK. I expect it to be there. Honestly, it might be closer to even come kickoff. But the hole in the Philly defense right now is their rushing defense. And with no Mike Evans, I know he's listed as doubtful, but he's not playing, dude. He couldn't even walk after that game. And we know his hamstring has been shot for like years now. I think we see a big dose of Bucky Irving, especially with Mike being one of Baker's top red zone targets. That won't be available. They're going to feed Bucky Irving. If I had to pick a second touchdown score, I don't mind Sterling Shepard either. That they have the chemistry all the way back from college. He's been throwing him the ball a decent amount. So I wouldn't mind that. You could probably get much better odds, but I think Bucky's scoring. will also make a touchdown parlay for me. So neither of those are official plays yet, but I am very close to pulling the trigger on that Tampa Bay first half money line.
Yeah, I feel you. They've been struggling, the Eagles, I should say, struggling early in games. But as much as we were talking, I guess more so me talking a little bit of crap about the Birds. Again, I gave them their flowers. Like, I still have them as the number one rated team in football. So it's not like I actually think they're not a good team. That's just absolutely not true. But what I will say is you got to tip your cap that, like, when they had to throw that drop back passing game, because, like, Jake, you handicapped that game perfectly in the first half. And, like, we both agreed last week about how the Rams punched them in the face. Like, we'll see how they respond. They haven't had to respond. Will they respond? And as we all saw, yeah, they responded with flying colors there. And that leads me to believe that which I think I was trying to knew. I had the Eagles as the number one team. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm like, finally, okay, I'm done hating on the Birds. Even as a Commander fan, I haven't hated on the Birds. Jake, you could correct me if I'm wrong. Have I been hating on the Birds?
No, you don't hate on them. You definitely deep down hope that they don't do well because you're a Commanders fan. But,
of course.
Yeah,
but like I let my ball knowledge and like betting come over my fandom here. But I think what we saw last game was just more proof that if AJB and the Birds need to turn up, they're going to turn up. So give me AJ Brown anytime touchdown at plus 170 at Hard Rock, 160 at DK. That's my touchdown score here. I know it's a little bit boring, but I know that, again, if we look at some of the touchdowns against, like GW and Nico, the two WR1s cooked against them, and in that first week against the Falcons in a game that was basically kind of like a rock fight, very defensive minded game. Didn't have any any receiver score there. But I think that this is a game where the Buccaneers, even with other injuries, like they show week in and week out that, or I should say even season in and season out, that without their full cast of characters, they can still make some things happen. And I believe that they can do so again and make this a very competitive game with the spread inclines. But I think that AJ Brown is going to be able to continue on his hot game from last week where he absolutely just cooked. Everyone knew you're throwing the ball to him, and he still had 109, and it was made it look easy out there. He's a man amongst boys at times, and I think considering this Buccaneers secondary, that AJ Brown absolutely will be in a position to have another big game. And I think the Birds now have that confidence where Jalen Hurts is going to be slinging it. And also, I will say that they're having a hard time running the ball, and the Buccaneers' run defense is great. I think instead of even being forced to throw like they were last week, that they're just going to now, because that's on film in both ways, like you just can't assume they're going to just run it with Jalen Hurts or just run it with Saquon. Like they can get their passing game going if they want it to be. And AJB is going to be, of course, always that number one guy on the outside for the Birds. So I like AJB touchdown. In terms of the spread, though, your guess is as good as mine here. I have no play on.
I don't mind the over, honestly. Like, I'm not going to play. If I play anything, it's going to be that Tampa Bay first half money line. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the one thing that the Bucs will stop is Saquon in the run game. I mean, as much as they possibly could. I think Philly's going to be slinging the ball. We know Baker's going to be slinging the ball. I could see some points being scored here. I mean, we both have two different touchdown scores that we like. That's already 14 points. So
yeah, hopefully that's 14 right there. But I'm with you. I know that the Bucs brought in this big guy that they drafted, that they brought back because they wanted to lose weight, a 400-pounder. Of course, they had Vita Vea hoping to stop the tush push. I was wrong that they would, not shy away from the tush push because they wanted to, but because they would have to. There was clearly a false start on one of them as well.
I was just gonna say that you saw that, right?
Yes, there was clearly one that was missed.
Terrible. And did you see? I told you about I forget the ref's name, but they put the ref on that game that has called the most false starts in the league.
Yeah, that was egregious. But it is what it is. I'm not going to bitch about it. I still think there will be a day, maybe this year, where finally that actually does come into fruition, where they sack up and call some false starts on the Birds, 4th and 1s or 4th and goals from the 1, and then they have to see what happens there. Maybe the refs are saving that for the reality TV show that is the NFL playoffs that's going to be coming eventually. So maybe this is all just a season-long build-up for when the NFC Championship game, Commanders in the link, and then they're finally going to start calling. And maybe that's what the script writers have.
One could dream. One could dream.
One can dream. Let's keep rocking. Saints, Bills. Bills laying 15.5 at home. I'm just going to quickly say, Jake, that laying 15.5 at anybody at this point is egregious to me. I have to directionally lean the Saints. I'm not betting on the Saints because I'd rather lose my money on a bad beat betting on the Rams against the Eagles than betting on, Spencer Rattler, potentially Tyler Shook in the second half here. But quick analysis on that is like the Bills can run the football with the best of them, and they have shown a propensity to slow the game down. And when you slow the game down, that does lead to not winning by crazy margins. Like they almost could have realistically lost to Miami last week, though. Of course, Miami, as bad as they are, still slightly better than New Orleans at the very least. Then on the flip side here, what was I going to say? My devil's advocate for myself is the Bills' defense the last even 3 years when they were very good to start. They were only very good against shitty quarterbacks, and this year they played some very good quarterbacks outside of Tua, who also did play really well against them to a little bit. Of course, the skill players always help out there for Miami. But long story short, I can't get to 15 here, but at the same time, the Bills have feasted on bad quarterback play in the Sean McDermott era, and that's exactly what they're facing at home, especially bad against quarterback play at home. So I could see why this number's here. I ain't laying 15.5 against anybody. I'm also not betting on the New Orleans Saints. Jake, do you have anything to add here?
Dude, nothing other than my touchdown score for everyone. I'm not touching this game, but I think Josh Palmer gets his first touchdown. I think he's at plus 300 on DK. Bills are going to score at will. I think it's a great time to get some guys the ball that probably haven't gotten it, that can come through big in the postseason. I mean, the Bills are making the playoffs. We can probably chalk that up right now. They're the Super Bowl favorite. You don't want to go into the playoffs with, some of your key guys that you're going to need on third and long, fourth and long, and at the end of the games with no confidence in their back pocket. So stack the stats now. Get Josh's first. Give a little Josh to Josh love right there. I would lean over if I had to pick a side or a total, just because the Bills defense is nothing special, and not that the Saints offense is, but they've shown, signs of being able to score, and really the Bills defense isn't that great. But 48 is also a pretty high number. I mean, the Bills could probably get it themselves, but nothing. I looked at this spread and I was like, yeah, I'm good.
Especially with Seattle last week, I think you like the over there too, and Seattle scored. They got to the over themselves.
Yeah,
could be like that as well. I'm not betting or laying this, unfortunately. So we can move on from this one. I don't have any strong thoughts. Haven't looked at any props there. Panthers, Patriots laying 5.5. I see a lot of love for the Patriots in Survivor after Carolina, as I think 5.5 point dogs. They maybe got the 4.5 that closed last week. One outright spanked the Falcons in Atlanta. Patriots, of course, losing to Pittsburgh. Drake May, though, all the advanced numbers saying he looks great. And the Panthers on the flip side, all the advanced numbers saying their defense could actually be legitimate, though their offense is still dealing with some injuries, especially to their offensive line. We saw Tat in the injury report. He was also on the injury report. Jake, Panthers, Patriots, I think first thoughts for me is it's tough to see a team like the Patriots, similar to the Texans, laying 5.5 on anybody. So I'm inclined to directionally lean Carolina here, but what's your thoughts on Patriots, Panthers?
Yeah, another game I just didn't touch. How do you even look at that Panthers Falcons game? Is it a fluke? Is it Atlanta? Penix obviously had a terrible game. Also, how much trust do you have in this Patriots offense? I mean, even you can look, points per game, whatever, but they had a kick return versus the Dolphins. They had some turnovers in the red zone that led to is their offense really that elite? Who knows? And you just said it. The Panthers defense, their passing defense specifically, they're allowing only a 66.9 opponent QBR, and that was versus the Jaguars, Arizona, and Atlanta. So no world beaters, but not bottom of the barrel guys. I know that we're not fans of Trevor Lawrence here, but which leads me to my touchdown play. I think Trevion Henderson gets into the end zone. I see that at plus 180 on DraftKings right now. Nothing that I'm playing, but they are bad against the run game. The Carolina, it's night and day difference. Great against the pass so far, terrible against the run. we know New England statistically and over time, they like running the ball. I know Bill Belichick's not there anymore. He's just, screwing up down at UNC instead. But New England also doesn't have one rushing touchdown from their running backs this year yet. They have one from Drake May. Other than that, everything came through the air. I think this is a great game to just pound the ball, get back to New England football against a Carolina team in general that is going to probably be on their high horse a little bit after last week. I think they're going to get punched in the face with some old-fashioned football, some ground and pound. I think they give their young running back the ball a decent amount with Stevenson. I mean, I think they both have a fair share of carries here. I think they run the ball right down Carolina's throat, but nothing crazy like sidewise or over-underwise for me. It's just really, it's kind of like a toilet bowl game,
Yeah, it's so the Patriots are definitely better, so I understand why they're favored.
Yeah, I agree. I
don't know. I'm also on the sideline for this one currently as it stands. I also directionally lean toward the under here in this one at 42.5 is a little bit low, but I do think this could be an under spot where if the Patriots, best success is running the football, it's going to take time off the clock, and I don't think the Patriots defense is going to be able to stop the run that well either. They haven't been, so great in that department overall whatsoever. And their defense also just looks kind of like, relatively bad. Though some of the advanced metrics are doing well. Like they're second in rushing yards, but like the Panthers are a rush first offense. But again, they're missing two of their best offensive linemen that are what they built this team around to be able to run the football. And now without those players, like, are they going to be able to impose their will as you see 25th in rushing yards and like second for the Patriots? So like it does scream like from a basic number perspective that they're going to be able to slow down Chuba and slow down the run game. But it was a similar situation with Atlanta where everyone thought Atlanta was going to just run the ball down their throat, and that just wasn't able to happen. Bijan didn't do crap, did not score a touchdown, obviously, and Penix threw some turnovers. May, as good as he is and as young as he still is still due for some turnovers here. If the Panthers defense keeps rocking, I could see why. So for me, it's gun to head here under, but nothing that I've locked in and not really a high interest game for me either on the week.
Yeah, screw this game.
We got more games, so it all doesn't matter here. But Jake and I have a ton of plays that we locked in. This is the last 1 o'clock, so after this, I'll talk through everything that we have so far, and then we'll finalize the 4 o'clocks. And we have 2 Monday nighters here, so let's keep it rocking. Falcons, Commanders. At this point, everybody in chat, I'm sure, knows I'm a Commies fan, but if you're new here, I'm a Commies fan. I want to say I have like good injury information where I am getting better, but like I read Washington Beat reporters more than anything. So like this time last week, I knew for a fact JD5, there's zero chance he played. Obviously, he didn't play. This time, JD5 limited at practice today. I think that Jaden will play this week, but with that being said, Terry McLaurin will not be playing football this week. I know he's still questionable, getting the second opinions. Wow. I'm not saying I have any information because I don't, but not to sound like voodoo or anything like that, but reading the tea leaves here, Terry McLaurin is not playing this week, which is going to be a tamper to this offense. You have the Falcons who are coming off a generational, getting their ass kicked, losing 30-0 as a favorite on the road here. And normally those teams bounce back historically against the spread, as we saw love for the Falcons as this number came down from 2.5. I think it was even 3 maybe at open. I'll confirm that in a second here. Jake, I can probably talk about this game forever, so I'm just curious your thoughts quickly here, because I'll give, I guess, like a little teaser here. I'm not betting this game just yet, and I'll see how it moves with JD if he is called in, but this has to be a Falcon spot.
Yeah, well, I will let you talk forever about it because, I mean, with all the injury news on the Washington side, and then you have a team like Atlanta that just got clapped like that. I mean, I don't even know what to do here. One thing I do like though is Deebo Samuel touchdown. I was going to ask you about McLaurin. Is he going to play or not? Like there's cues all over the place. Krosky, Merritt, we got Daniels, which I don't think Mariota played too bad. McLaurin, Noah Brown, someone who doesn't have a little red letter next to them is Deebo Samuel. I think he gets into the end zone and he's like plus 165 right now on Bet365. I think you can get that unless you see something better, but yeah, I don't like to make too many assumptions. This is why I don't lock, as many plays in on a Wednesday versus on a Saturday, Sunday morning. I like to see that injury news, but yeah, that's where I stand. I'll let you rant. These are your boys, and Also, Atlanta's kind of on my shit list right now. I bet them last week. I also needed Drake London to close out a touchdown parlay for me at plus 1,500, and like was just throwing shit in the air to watching that game. So I at least have to take 13 days off of betting teams when they do that to me. So yeah, they're on the canceled list for the next week or two.
So I want to say, because you said like it's not like Marcus Mariota played poorly. Marcus Mariota was awesome against Las Vegas. Whose defense sucks, but he was amazing. He was running like it was 2011. He was going for a Heisman Trophy. We did have that lost fumble, didn't come back to bite them, but the Commanders did get a ton of really good variance.
Like a 40-yard run though, or whatever that was.
Yeah, he was absolutely cooking. I wish he had the numbers up for his odds, but they're not up because he might not start, of course. But they hang a touchdown odds just 365 here. But Mariota played amazing. And JD5, of course, did not play so great. But here, I'm intrigued in is Darnell Mooney to score a touchdown. Now he is kind of similar to like Trey Tucker, who went off for them in the sense where like he is their downfield burner. Now he missed the first game of the season here, but he still has quickly got himself up to being third in pass catching target share for them. Like, of course, you have Bijan, you have Ray McLeod, who played also week 1 here, but Darnell Mooney is their WR2, even with Pitts. So I love a Mooney anytime touchdown, doing like, again, fading what Washington secondary does. And 260 at DraftKings is a sexy price, honestly. Like, this is a play. Like, I'm betting Darnell Mooney plus 260 here to score a touchdown. But overall, I'm not going to say I'm like worried about Jaden Daniels or anything like that. Like Mariota coming in and doing so well as a product of a couple of things. One, the Washington special teams was so damn good against the Raiders, but that's again like being good against like a joke of a team. Number 2, this Washington defense still isn't great. And Penix played his first career start, I want to say. Maybe it was his second against Washington last year. Took us to overtime where we barely won. And I know that we have a new defense this time around, but as we saw last week and all season long, it's not like our defense is very good either way. Bijan, I'll check his odds here as well. I'm obviously assuming they're going to be in the minus 150 range because when at the lowest, probably in the minus 180 range. Let's find out right now. Yeah, minus 180, spot on right here for Bijan Robinson anytime. So if you're like, again, like a parlay guy, you want like a parlay piece, I personally tend to like shy away from shit like that, but like give me all the Bijan touchdown. But I think that Penix has played well. He had his worst game as a pro against a good defense that had a good plan for him, like on the road, and that's all in the game. Now they're at home, and this Washington defense is nothing to write home about. And if they could stop Washington from getting pressure, which if we switch here, like they're doing a pretty good job in the sacks and QB hits department, but Washington yet to record a turnover this season. Now, this is not a reason to bet a game or to bet on anything like that, but like turnovers are the highest variance things in the world, right? When it comes to football, turnover variance is literally the difference between covering spreads and not covering spreads. So we literally saw 4 of them just last week, especially on special teams, block kicks as well. So Washington needs to force turnovers to have any chance. And against Penix, they probably have a shot to do so if their pass rush can do as good as it's been doing so far, like Dorrance Armstrong. Absolutely cooking. Deron Payne in the middle has been great. Javon Kinlaw has also been very good for them up front. And their secondary, though, has been dogged. And they do have a couple of injuries. Washington has one of the worst injury lucks so far this season. All in all, though, I haven't bet it yet, but I think I'll bet the Falcons here. Like, even though I'm a Commander fan, this is definitely a Falcons spot. And I think Washington might just be like an overall bad matchup. But the Falcons, if they're not able to force a turnover, which they haven't done all year, I think this is an Atlanta spot. So lean Atlanta, but definitely a play for me here is Mooney anytime touchdown.
It's a nice little win-win for you. If Atlanta wins, you make some money. If they lose, your team wins.
So we got the 4:00 games and of course prime times, but let's run through what we have so far. So Jake and I both on Seattle money line. I like McBride touchdown. Jake likes Kupp touchdown. In the Pittsburgh Steelers game, I like Pittsburgh and the over. Jake likes Justin Jefferson receiving yards and touchdown. Detroit, Cleveland. We both like Detroit. I like J-Mo. Jake likes Laporta to find the end zone. In Giants Chargers, Jake's like Scadaboot ladder all the way up to 100. Dart to score. I like Lad. We both like Tennessee plus 7.5. I like the under as well, and Jake likes Pollard to score, which I actually do like a lot as well. Buccaneers Eagles. Jake likes Tampa Bay first half money line. Bucky to score, and I love AJ Brown to score. Buffalo New Orleans. Jake, not really an opinion there. I like the under. Commanders game, he likes Debo to find pay dirt. I like Mooney to find pay dirt, and I think it's an Atlanta spot as well. So let's get into these 4:00. Colts Rams. We all know what happened last week. Colts, we all know that they're the talk of the town. Colts probably playing Their biggest challenge so far, though Denver, of course, is probably up there. It's arguable who's better. I think the Rams are better because what they can actually do offensively. Total 49.5. I definitely would wish this was like a point or two lower because I would love the over here. But Jake, first thoughts on Danny Jones against this Rams D and Stafford against this Colts D?
Yeah, I mean, can't take anything away from what Daniel Jones is doing. Like, you love to see a story like that. You leave New York and randomly you're good. Like, guess all the quarterbacks do that. But this is their first test, man. Like, even you mentioned the Broncos, but I don't even know where the Broncos stand right now as, like, are they a good team? Are they not? Like, what, they beat Tennessee, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, they lost to the Colts here, and then they lost to the Chargers, who were high on. But then, like, Indy beat the Dolphins and then beat the Broncos by 1, and then, like, the Titans, you know? So where exactly do they – how strong am I on them at the same time? Like, this 3.5 number, I feel like it's kind of right. Like, if I would go anywhere, I would go Colts, but I would love – hopefully the public hammers Indy, and that goes down to a 3, which is probably why I'm going to wait to do anything here. If it was anything, I'm sorry. I said, did I say that wrong? I meant I want -3. I want the Rams -3. So hopefully everyone hammers Indy and that line moves down. I would take the Rams at -3. I mean, dude, what, they were a field goal block away from being 3-0 and beating, like, the Texans, which that score does not even depict how much they dominated that game. They were in the Texans side of the field multiple times, like 4 or 5 times. I think I said this last week when I was talking about how I liked them against Philly. And yeah, they only put up 14 points. I was on their team total under that week too, so I was totally okay with it. But they really dominated that game offensively. Then they smoked the Titans, and then they really should have beat the Eagles, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. Like, they got a loss there. They are the better team, and I think they're better by a field goal at least. That's where I would go if I do anything. And touchdown score, I need to look really quickly. I do think that the one big difference here is the Colts' run defense has not been good all season, and the Rams can run the ball. So if I'm looking anywhere, it's probably out of Kyren Williams, but he's like -190, so like maybe a parlay piece. Even Puka Nacua is like even money right now. So clearly they're expecting some points here. They're expecting the Rams to score at least, if like
50-point total. They're definitely expecting points here.
Yeah, of course, but especially on the Rams side. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna wait. Hopefully, I can get a -3 or even a -2.5 on the Rams. That's the only way I would go. I don't know if I'm fully trusted in this Colts team yet. Like, they're gonna have to show me something. But this game could be that game, like, where, okay, the Colts are legit, or can they not play good against good teams? Like, we'll find out. It's a long season, but I don't know if I'm fully there on them yet. But what do you think?
Yeah, I had a similar sentiment last week where it's in like a different capacity, but like same kind of mindset where, like, to me, it was kind of like, if the Colts are actually good, they'll handle Tennessee handily, which they did. And then now it's like a similar situation in the sense where it's actually, like you just said there, like, if they're actually really good, now you have a really good team to go against and to show that you're very good. And the Rams, of course, coming back from, Philly, which can't be discounted. That cross-country travel is never great. Like, going from East Coast back to the West for this one here. I haven't played anything in this game just yet here. Directionally, though, I do lean for the Rams to win. And from a touchdown perspective, like you said, for the Colts, for the Rams, like, they're just like, he throws Matt Stafford, they hand it off to Kyren, or they throw it to Puka or Devontae. It's really that simple. So the touchdown odds aren't going to be really great in that department. So I'm gonna not belabor any points here. Guns ahead on Rams here. I haven't played as much so far as I thought. I think it's a pretty tough board overall. But I'm with Jake, where if the Colts want to show that they actually are for real, and historically teams that start up 3-0 that aren't necessarily expected to be like a 3-0 very good team, don't do so hot for the rest of the year. But this is, again, where the Colts will prove whether or not they're legit or not. So that's what we'll find out now. So let's keep going here. We have Jaguars Niners. I also want to let everybody know, if you scan the QR code in the top right corner, you can get Outlier for 7 days for free. All of these data points that we're pulling up all these market movements, all the prop bets, one-click integration to find the best odds available. All we're using Outlier.bet. So 7-day free trial. I have under this tweet a link. You can click and use that link, or you can scan the QR code in the top right to get Outlier for free for this NFL week. So definitely take a look at Outlier if you guys want to find ways to bet smarter. It's a player prop tool. They have EV, props, boosts, arbitrage, middles, all the best things that will make your betting process a lot smoother. So shout out to Outlier for sponsoring. But Jaguars, Niners, Purdy's playing, right, Jake? Did I miss that?
I'm not sure. Like, I'm trying to look that up now. He's still listed as questionable. Let me double check, though.
He was limited in practice Wednesday. Pearsall didn't practice, but Pearsall said if they had to play a game today, he would have played. So I think
Juwan Jennings questionable. I mean, that's the thing. There's letters all over the place with them.
Jaguar. I mean, playing? No, Bosa's Dunzo.
He's Dunzo, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Niners again getting hit with that injury bug as they're so used to. Unfortunately, takes away such a good football team, which always sucks. Jaguars 2-1. They beat the Texans last week. We all know the Brian Thomas Jr. nonsense. Whether or not Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback or not is at this point a very debatable topic. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, it has been a debatable topic, but Trevor Lawrence is also, like, as much as I like to hate on him and think he sucks, the numbers are kind of showing that a little bit that he's just had the most drops and like catchable targets where he should be better. Like I see he's number one in highest drop rate since 2020, number one in highest rate of total receiver error, meaning like receivers botching and not letting him, do good things. But at the same time, Trevor Lawrence has also been known in his career to stare down his first read, leading to a bunch of egregious turnovers and leading to those game back-breaking interceptions he's been throwing here. Also having a terrible time with success rate throwing the ball down the field. And De'Ami Brown, who's actually been great for them so far, is also banged up. Travis Hunter is doing a lot of short route kind of stuff. Who knows what's good with him? BTJ sucking is the story of the season here. 3.5, I think, is very fair here. Directionally, I think I do lean Jacksonville, Jake, but Jaguars and Niners. Do you have anything to add there? Because another one where I'm just kind of all over the place a little bit here.
Yeah, and Mac Jones is questionable too. So they're both like kind of day to day right now. Mac Jones is questionable with a knee injury, and then Brock Purdy his report is shoulder and toe, like two total opposite parts of the body. Pretty funny, but he was limited at practice again today too. So who knows what the quarterback position looks like, but they got other problems injury wise. They're kind of like your Commanders. Dude, Jacksonville has been running the ball though. Like they're seeing success on the ground. And now this 49ers defense has also been good at stopping the run. So I don't know if that's a clean wash, but I think Jacksonville has the edge on the pass game on defense. I mean, right now they're the number one pass defense in the league when it comes to opponent passer rating. They're allowing only a 65.5 passer rating. And like, is Mac Jones going to dice them up? Even if Brock Purdy is back, like, is he going to have the firepower? And are the Jaguars going to end being the best passing defense in the league? Probably not. But you got to go with the statistics that we're given. And this team is getting 3 points. Like, I can't pass that up. I think if it's at plus 3.5, I might have to take that right now. I also like ETN to get in the end zone here, but on the other hand, the 49ers, I know Trevor Lawrence hasn't been too great, but the 49ers pass defense has not been good. They're bottom third in the league in pass defense, so everything's really lining up for Jacksonville to have success on offense and on defense. Plus, the 49ers are the ones with injury news here. I don't know. Obviously, another game where, I think I'm going to take that 3.5 because regardless, I don't think we're going to see a healthy quarterback, even if Brock does play. Like, clearly, I don't think he's going to be 100%. If Mac plays, he's not going to be 100%, and he's a little bit of a downgrade to Brock anyway. But yeah, that's where I stand. I might take this before the end of tonight, honestly.
Yeah, and where the like this is a week we're going to learn a lot about a lot of teams. Like, for example, the Niners played Seattle, New Orleans, and San Francisco, and Arizona. Obviously, barely squeaked by Arizona with Mac Jones, beating the Saints pretty handily, though that one got a little close toward the end. And then that game one against Seattle there. But then also, like, yeah, you talked about how good the Jaguars pass defense is and like how it can't be sustainable because they played against the Houston Texans defense. They played against Carolina as well. And who was the third team?
Then you see Carolina go and put up 30 against Atlanta, you know? So I agree with you. Like, okay, maybe Carolina's not going to do that all season. But with the data that we have, like the Atlanta defense, I thought was going to be pretty good, you know?
But that's where I think I think I just disagree is because the data that you have in football through 3 weeks are lies. Because of how small a sample size is in the NFL, one full 18, 17 game season isn't even enough data to definitively say anything. So like I personally disagree in that fact because if you ask me, and like just because of literal sample sizes and like hypotheses and like science, there's not enough data to like prove that this defense is good, to prove that this offense is good, to prove that anything is true. And yes, you could see like through 6 weeks of that being true, then maybe that's when you start to think, okay, this is more of a concrete fact. But even at that point, still, it's not going to be a concrete fact because everything is definitely matchup dependent, coach dependent, situationally dependent, variance dependent, like special teams, turnovers, and all of those, kinds of situations here. So, I just
so what
like
do you base it off of then, Eric? Like out of curiosity, I agree with you. Like week 1, week 2, yeah, whatever. You don't have no data, little to no data. Even week 3 a little bit, but I think 3 games in, you have at least a better idea of what these teams are going to be like. But also, like if you don't have that idea, you don't have that like data that you need. Like what are you basing it off of? Like what makes the Jaguars defense, pass defense, seem more legit? Other than like they're literally number 1 right now in pass defense, you know, like even if they fall to 4, 5, 6, 7, it's still a pretty good pass defense.
Yeah, but then it goes back to that's when it's like peeling back like the layers of like the onion here. It's like they played Carolina when Bryce Young looked horrible. They played Cincinnati where they hurt Joe Burrow and they got a bunch of Jake Browning and they still lost that game. And then they played Houston. The Houston Texans defense was the worst in football. So it's like, do you anticipate them to continue their success against Mac Jones? The answer could still be yes because of what they've done so far. But if this was Purdy and the Niners fully healthy, I think it'd be very easy to say no shot in hell they continue to play as well as they did so far because of what they're playing. Now, of course, we know it's not a healthy 49ers team, which is unfortunate. Right. So you could, revert back to them there. So I think it's all situational and contextual. Also something that I'd love for Outlier to add, which I know a bunch of other sites do have that, like not really any other player prop tools, but some other sites are out there. They have like success rate measures, EPA measures, as well as also defensive coverages. Because like, for example, and don't quote me on this because I don't have numbers in front of me, but like say Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback against cover 2 defenses. And these 3 teams they played so far have been playing a lot of cover 2, but the Niners were the highest man defense and his numbers suck against man. You have to consider that in where you're going to have some regression.
100%.
There. So I think everything is just situational and contextual here. All in all, though, I do agree with you, though, that I do lean Jacksonville getting a 3.5 here on the road.
Well, I just locked it in, actually, as we were discussing that. I just pulled the trigger. I already see, like, the best you can get is plus 3.5 at minus 115. So I have a feeling it's we're gonna lose that hook sooner than later. But I did lock it in. I'll put a unit
locked it in. Jaguars plus 3.5. Bears, Raiders. 2 disgusting teams. The Bears, of course, got their big win against Dallas, who Dallas looked like they were terrible. The Raiders got absolutely smoked. Special teams got killed. Offense scored a little bit in garbage time. Defense couldn't stop Marcus Mariota or anybody in DC. Caleb Williams at this point, do you think he is decent? Like I've been seeing some numbers how Ben Johnson's really been helping him get into some good spots. He's actually doing a little bit better also in this like very structured offense, making some better decisions here. Chicago Bears dogs on the road here, but very slight. I think the Raiders are definitely better than they showed on Sunday. They think they just came off Monday Night Football and came against the Commander team that was off a mini bye that got embarrassed on prime time and their defensive line was able to impose their will on the Raiders O-line, but the Bears defensive line is not a strength at all. So if Geno Smith has time, especially considering the problems in the secondary for Chicago, I could see why this total is 47.5, and I could definitely expect there to be some points scored in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I love any type of over here. You just said it. I mean, aside from stopping the pass, they can't stop the run either. Do we see Genty finally have a nice little game here? Who knows? But I think there are going to be points scored. I want to look at the first half total.
Just pull it up there. First half total.
The Bears coming off of a big win, coming out with lots of confidence. Caleb Williams just had a pretty good game, but a lot of nonsense in that game too. Like that flea flicker was absolutely ridiculous. Like it was like a middle school flea flicker. That ball going back to Caleb had hang time, bro. Like I was like, what are they doing? I was like, this is typical Bear bull crap. And then they score on it. I'm like, wow, that is not probably how they drew it up, but how they drew it up, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Now they drew it up, and the Dallas Cowboys didn't guard anybody at that point. But the total here for first half, 23.5.
Yeah, I don't know. That looks kind of pretty to me as well. Only because like the Raiders are kind of in the same boat. They can't stop the pass right now. They can't stop the run. Like two bad defenses and two offenses that have plenty of potential. I'm not gonna lock it in right now, but 23.5 looks pretty promising. But I do like points. I even see 47.5 for the total. Like, for them to score 48 is definitely on the radar as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question about Caleb Williams, am I bought in on him yet? I mean, it's going to go back to probably what you just said about the last game sample size and like what have we seen so far. Like last season, gave us no reason to be high on him. And then what? Now he has one decent game, and is it time to think that he's all that? I don't think so. I think he's got to show a lot more, but yeah, it's just where I stand. I like points. And touchdown wise, I think Trey Tucker gets into the zone.
Again, Trey Tucker, 3 tutties in week 3, Washington. You like him again, Jake?
Yeah, I think he gets in the zone again. I think it's at plus 2 something.
275, right 265, 220 DraftKings, 210 Hard Rock.
Yeah, 275 on Bet365. That's pretty nice. That's a pretty nice look. Nothing right now, but obviously I think that there's going to be points. I think there's plenty of room for Trey Tucker to get his. What is Genty? Minus 140 right now?
Well, I mean, Genty, I guess this would be the week.
Got to get his.
But Jake, like I was saying to you last week, not the victory lap here, but
yeah,
I did say for your, I don't know what the price is for, but yeah, for the future, I was telling you to maybe hit the brakes there for a hot sec for at least one more week.
Yeah, I wonder what those. I'll look
140 at DraftKings right now for Genty.
Minus 140. Let me see. Offensive player of the rookie, offensive player of the year, offensive rookie of the year. Yeah, probably could have gotten a much better price, but it is what it is. Like I said, I put 0.3 units on it. Now he's plus 850. If I want to buy in a little more, I can get a better price. But yeah, Hampton's in front of him, McMillan. Now Jackson Dart plus 650 out of nowhere.
Ridiculous number. If you're betting Dart plus 650, I think you're not you. I'm generally speaking, of course. If you're betting Dart 650, I think you're tripping sack to bet Jackson Dart. That's
you're tripping more than sack if you're taking Jackson Dart before his first start at plus 650
against the Chargers defense. And yeah, you can always say like, oh, if he turns up, you're never going to see that price again. Not going to dispute that as a fact because that is true. But is that what I think is going to happen? Absolutely not there. So Jake leaned toward the over there. I actually do as well directionally like the over in Shy/LV. 47.5. But game of the week, Chiefs Ravens. Chiefs took care of business against the Giants in MetLife. Ravens got smoked against the Lions. I was so off on that game. Detroit, clearly still one of the best teams in football. Baltimore's defense is dog water. Xavier Worthy is expected to play in this one. Derrick Henry can't stop fumbling. The Chiefs are home underdogs and getting plus 130 odds. If you are followed me for 3 years now, you know that if Patrick Mahomes has a plus money sign next to his name, that is an automatic bet. It's like a contract I signed with, the odds makers, whoever you want to call it, the devil maybe. But Patrick Mahomes is plus money in Arrowhead. Yeah, I lost on the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes plus money. Yeah, I lost against the Eagles with Patrick Mahomes plus money. But guess what? I'm back.
He's
Jake,
back.
talk to me. I'm betting the Chiefs plus 130. I'm not even hesitating.
Yeah, I don't have any side at all. I was looking at Hollywood Brown to score a touchdown even yesterday. I think might have been a little better odds yesterday. Yeah, you can still get 215 on Caesars. I mean, I think we do see this Baltimore team, right? They should have beat the Bills. Again, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But, like, realistically, you could say Derrick Henry has blown them 2 games. I wouldn't say single-handedly, but they just don't frickin' frack well right now. When they need their defense to get a stop, their defense is not getting a stop. When they need their offense to not shoot themselves in the foot in the fourth quarter, their offense is shooting themselves in the fourth quarter. So, like, you hate to see it. Yeah, they're playing great competition. It's not going to slow down here. I'm not there where I could just bet the Chiefs. I know it's just an auto play for you if you see that plus symbol. Like, for me, it's definitely not, especially this season. I just think that they're boring. I think the Ravens are definitely the better team here. But it's 2 must win. I think they're arguably 2 must wins. Like, neither of these teams could go to 1-3 right now. So something I'm not going to lock anything in right now. I'm going to have to sit on this one. Does Kansas City have the pieces right now? Is Worthy going to play? Is Xavier Worthy playing?
If I read correctly, he practiced in full.
I saw he did practice, but I mean that's definitely a highlight for them too. But yeah, I'm not on a side like you like to say. If the gun's to my head, I got to take the Ravens, but I'm not laying -2.5, 3 with them right now. And what does that say?
Worthy, full participant in today's practice, putting him on track to play Sunday against Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be huge for them. I wouldn't mind some over spots if that is the case, but yeah, nothing really too intriguing to me. My touchdown for you, touchdown degens, if you want to throw something in a parlay. I think Hollywood Brown gets into the end zone, especially if there's going to be points being scored, 48.5. So not a primetime game, but to everybody, this is like the primetime game of the 4:00 games probably. Everyone's going to be watching this. So
I like Kareem Hunt to get into the end zone here. I talked about this on stream multiple times this season. Like, he just straight up gets the red zone rushing opportunities over Pacheco. And the odds still aren't fully adjusted there, in my opinion. So 2-1 for Kareem Hunt. And then Hollywood Brown. And Kareem Hunt stinks, by the way, but like for whatever reason, they love him. So that's all. I don't know what else to say there. But plus 230 for Hollywood. So I'm writing it down. Casey Moylan, Hollywood, and Hunt touchdown. So let's get to the final games of the week. We have 3 primetime games this week. We have Sunday night and 2 Mondays where we have your Dolphins kicking us off there. But Packers, Cowboys, Green Bay.
I'll be at that game. I'll be at that game.
That's
epic. Yeah, I'll be down there in the Hard Rock.
Love that. Packers laying 6.5. We all know what happened to them last week. Cowboys, we all know what happened to them last week. Under 47.5. I'm going to just start off and say I love. I don't think that Dallas is going to be able to throw the ball all over this Packers defense. And I know that the Packers without Jaden Reed are going to be much more conservative. I don't think this is like a overreaction to both of these two teams going way under last week. And I wish I played it. That's the one like regret. Like, obviously your hindsight is always 20/20, but I talked about how I thought Packers Browns was going to be a rock fight, and it was not. I didn't bet the under, so that's on me there. So I don't think I'm overreacting to both of those games going under. I just think that Green Bay is going to run their slow, methodical, run the football offense. They're not going to take a ton of shots down the field. The Cowboys are going to also be, keen to slow those things down after what happened to them in Chicago. Then on the flip side, I think that Parsons and co are going to make Dak's life hell, and I find it hard to believe that they're going to, have this offensive output like we saw against the Giants. I know the Giants have a good D line, and the Cowboys, were able to put up crazy amounts of points in that game against the Giants there. But I think this 47.5 is way too high. I like the under, and like I actually would lay it with the Packers here, Jake. But what are you thinking on prime time?
Yeah, no, I really like the under too. Specifically because the Green Bay passing offense is the highlight of their team right now. Cowboys can't stop the pass. So that's the only thing that prevents me from loving the under. But like you said, I think Green Bay gets the lead. I think they run the ball, which they suck at doing. And the Cowboys are actually pretty good at stopping the run. So I think they're going to try to run the ball. They're not going to have much success. They're going to be punting the ball back and forth. The Cowboys, on the other hand, they can run the ball. So that also helps the under. They're second in rushing in yards per carry this year so far. So they're going to be running the ball. They're going to be milking the clock. On the other side, Green Bay, they're pretty good against the run. So, like, I don't see much success on the ground there, even though they're going to be trying to do it over and over again. I just think it's the only decent matchup I see is Green Bay in the air versus the Cowboys. But then again, Green Bay, like, who do they even have to throw to? Reed's out. Like, Kraft is not going to go for another 150 and however many touchdowns.
And he's banged up.
Is he hurt?
He got hurt in practice, but I think they said that again because he played, of course. But I think they said that he was also still banged up. I'll confirm on X real quick.
Yeah, and before we had a show before the season even started, I said, "Who's the Green Bay wide receiver who's gonna be their guy?" They still don't have the guy. The guy still isn't there for them. So even though that is the one mismatch that we see here, I don't think Green Bay is going to be able to successfully throw the ball. Now, I think they definitely win. I'm pumped to see like the Parsons return. That's going to be a cool little environment. And like, I think there is kind of bad blood there. Like, I think he's going to be a bat out of hell in that D line. Like you said, giving Dak problems all day. But yeah, I'm totally with you on the under there. I think it's a very low scoring game. Everyone's going to probably think it's going to be high scoring. Green Bay is going to bounce back. But in their defense, they played this Cleveland defense that is good against the run. They're not good against the pass, like I said earlier, and they still weren't able to throw the ball. So yeah, I like the under too. Probably gonna lock that in. Hopefully it moves to 48 though. Can't hope for those things, but I'll wait on it. I'll take that risk.
Absolutely. And if there is a touchdown score, or of course going to be one, but I think Matthew Golden, he's missed a lot of shots. And if the Cowboys pass defense is not stopping the big play, this is Green Bay's big play player. He had a lot more of a target share without, Mr. Dobbs hurt, of course. Golden has been on the field a lot more frequently. So I like Matthew Golden to score a touchdown if they are going to, find a play. Because I know that LaFleur is going to be aggressive and try to take the top of the defense. Like they did against Washington, which they were just missed on a couple of them, but they were right there. I like Golden, anytime touchdown score.
Completely left out that, like, CD Lamb obviously isn't playing.
Yeah.
We totally left that out. I like Turpin to get into the end zone here. Plus 360 on DK right now, I think.
Didn't he get hurt? I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but didn't he get banged up as well?
2 weeks ago, but I think I mean, can we talk about that for a second? What are they doing with CD Lamb in the backfield there? The dude's freaking a twig, and that's how your star player is going to get hurt? Like, come on.
I mean, I guess it's one of those situations where, anything to get the ball into your best player's hands, which on one hand I can't fully disagree with because they have had success with Lamb.
Send one a jet sweep though or something,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now you're making me double. I have to make sure Turpin's playing here. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's not like I'm locking it in, but
facts. Turpin did score against the Giants there. He got hurt in that game, but did score a touchdown. So yeah, I don't remember either. I'll do a little Turpin search. But Monday Night Football, 2 games. Jets, your Dolphins. Jake, I'll let you kick it off here and talk about your 0-3 Miami Dolphins hosting the 0-3 Jets. Miami laying 2.5 at home. Jets, of course, barely losing to the Broncos. Miami, I guess, almost beating the Bills as well in Buffalo. Jake, where's your head on this one?
Yeah. I mean, dude, Mike McDaniel's on the chopping block right now, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Obviously, as is Tua, but you just said it. Like, it's so frustrating being a Dolphins fan. After that week 1, I was like, oof, this might be a long season. Then they lose to the Patriots in that fashion where return a kick, they return the favor like the next play, putting together a drive to go score. We do score, step out of bounds, end up losing that game. The Bills, they played great against the Bills, in my opinion. I think they put themselves in a position to win. And then
Yep.
late in the fourth quarter, 3 minutes left, they're driving down to score, down 7 points. Tua throws an interception. And there's not even anything good for me to say about Tua right now. I mean, it's actually embarrassing how he throws the ball right to defenders. Like, what? At least chuck it up to Tyreek and throw an interception and make it a good punt. Like, he's throwing interceptions to D linemen right in front of his face. Like, you just can't be doing that. And then you're doing it in crunch time, or he's either doing it in crunch time in the fourth quarter, or he's doing it in where he's giving the ball to the other team in their own red zone. Like, those things cannot be happening. And like, they're just so one dimensional. They do have some success running the ball. Now they're playing the Jets. That's the good part. I do think that they win this game. That's not even like a homer move of me. Like, the Jets, what are they going to have, like some momentum because they almost won a game? Like, all right, we almost won 2 games, but home in Miami next week, Panthers on deck. Like, this is obviously a must win. 0-3, like the statistic of an 0-3 team coming back and making the playoffs is like very, very minute. So I'm not stretching for that, but they don't have the hardest schedule. They can gain some momentum here. Monday Night Football game. I got absolutely no plays. You could bet your ass though I will have something by Monday when I'm going to the game in person. I'll have boots on the ground, but it's really hard. Like, I don't even like looking at the games where my teams are playing in them because it's so hard to bet against your team, even when like your brain is telling you to. But at the same time, I'm not putting any money on the Jets. So I might dabble with like maybe a first half play somewhere, a team total somewhere. But other than that, that was my like little rant / like sad synopsis of the Dolphins. What do you have for me though? Like, are you going to break my heart here and be like, this is a great spot for the Jets? Or
Well, I'm looking. Is Fields playing? Because I saw he was.
I don't. It's not confirmed yet.
I think I like Miami, honestly. I don't think the Jets are a complete dumpster fire. Miami is as well, don't get me wrong here, but I think the Jets or the Dolphins at least can like get some more things going on offense. Like they've done Achane, of course, Reek. Jets pass defense has been abysmal this year. And like if there is a time for Tyreek Hill to turn things up, I think it is now. They're going to keep falling to Achane. I think, that 3-headed monster of Achane, Wild, and Reek is still really good. Of course, you got to get the ball into their hands, and Tua's had some trouble doing that. But the Jets overall, though, I don't think are in a situation where I want to bet them. I think it's Miami spot. Haven't bet it yet. I think this total of 44.5 might be a little low. I know that both these teams, especially the Jets, could try to run the ball. But I think this could be definitely more of an over spot, but I do lean Dolphins here. But again, I stream Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, so I'll definitely have much stronger thoughts on the games where we don't have a ton of opinions on by those points here. That doesn't mean I have a plan on every single game, don't get me wrong, but right here is a directional lean to Miami in the over, but nothing locked in. Last but not least here, Bengals, Broncos. Of course, the Jake Browning era, not off to a great 2025 start with their dismantling in Minnesota. I'm not like a tape watcher. I gotta sit here and say I watch the tape and do stuff like that. But with that being said, he was put in a blender by Brian Flores, disguising coverages, making things look like, zone coverage when it was man and zone, blitz when it was a drop back when it was a blitz. It was like I see the tape Twitter did all the work for me there, and they were showcasing how Flores put on a clinic. Other side, the Broncos barely lose to the Chargers, but that's a game where I think it showed that the Broncos are still very good. Like, of course, divisional game, but you lose by 3 in a game that was very close through and through. And if you put Herbert on the Charger and on the Broncos in that game, I think the Broncos win that game by 50. Obviously, you don't do that and change quarterbacks, but I think that's my point is, while Knicks might be bad, this team is not bad. I thought 7.5, though, to me makes a ton of sense with this spread here, honestly. I think it might be a tick too high because I don't think that it's 7.5 points. That's a lot of points in the National Football League here. But Jake, I guess I'll pass to you here because I don't have a ton. But Broncos, I don't think this game all of a sudden becomes like a close one where the Bengals are like live as a dog here. I think it's a Broncos spot.
Yeah, absolutely not. I actually really like the first half under of 22.5. I'm looking at it right now. Do you know that Chase Brown is averaging 2 yards per carry and doesn't even have 100 rushing yards on the season right now?
Yeah, I've been seeing all those metrics about how yards before contact are like 0 and yards after are like his entire rushing total or something like that. Yeah,
He's 47 rushing attempts for 93 yards.
it's tough,
And
man.
like,
They're not shit for him.
what do they have going for them? If they have a backup quarterback in, their star running back can't even average more than 2 yards per carry, and their defense sucks. Like, I mean, I'm definitely not taking them with the points, but at the same time, I'm not too confident in the Broncos. Like, they've had hiccups a lot this season too. Yeah, they played pretty good against the Chargers, but I'm not laying 7.5 with them. I think that it's just I think they're still going to try to feed Chase Brown because they do have a backup quarterback. They're not just going to abandon the run. Plus, he's obviously in the past years shown that he's very capable of being a stud. If they could keep the ball out of Bo Nix's hand as well, put together some long drives, which like Jake Browning is a backup, but he does have that experience under his belt because Joe Burrow gets hurt every single year anyway. I just don't think that Bo Nix is going to light up the scoreboard, and I definitely don't think the Bengals are going to really get going either. So I think it's going to be a slow start. I don't think more than 3 touchdowns are scored in the first half. So 22.5 at like even money, it's looking pretty good. The under right now to me.
First half total 22.5.
Is there a 23 somewhere? Because I would love a 23.
23.5 at 120 at MGM. That's actually probably a better price there with only 21 juice, but for that 1 point, around a key number of 23 for first half there. Yeah, no, again, don't want to belabor any points here. Like I said, guys, I'm streaming tomorrow. I'm streaming Friday. I'm streaming Sunday. So make sure that you guys tune into all those streams. So you're following me at GoBetSmart and Jake at Money Badger Bets on X to see everything that we drop. Let me run through everything that Jake and I have locked in or are strongly opinionated on for our first run through of the board here for week 4 on Wednesday. Seattle money line, McBride touchdown, Cup touchdown, Jetta's receiving yards and touchdown, Pittsburgh money line over, Detroit against the spread, JMO and Laporta anytime, Scattaboo rushing ladder up to 100 plus, Dart anytime, Lad anytime, Tennessee plus 7.5, Pollard anytime touchdown under, Tampa Bay first half money line, Bucky and AJ touchdown, Buffalo, New Orleans under, Debo, Darnell anytime, and also Atlanta, Jacksonville plus 3.5, Chicago, Las Vegas over 47.5, KC money line, Hollywood and Hunt anytime touchdown, Green Bay minus 6.5, under 47.5, Matthew Golden anytime, Miami money line the over, and this one unfortunately not a ton there. But Jake, any parting words for the boys here before we wrap it up?
No parting words other than going back to the Dolphin game. I will have boots on ground. I will be there. I'm gonna be there in spirit with them on the field too. So stay tuned because I might just throw a nice little risky same game parlay and whatever I'm feeling, whatever the building is giving me, I'll let you guys know. It's probably going to be a guarantee cash. So, you know, we love the guarantee cashes, Eric.
Boots on the ground plays are always vibe.
Boots on the ground, baby. Come on. Get me like a couple beers deep, and it's like the books can't stop me.
Books can't stop. He's going to be betting like a 7-legger plus 100 at our Hard Rock odds down there in Florida.
Hey, it hits. What is a win?
Shout out to Outlier.bet. If you guys want a free trial of Outlier, scan the QR code in the top right, or also just click on the tweet, and underneath the tweet, there's a link to click 7-day free trial for Outlier. As you saw all stream long, that's where we found the best odds in market for player props, as well as game lines, first half, money lines, quarters, everything. Also, they have all the prop lines, all the different markets, all the different players, as you see here. Quite literally every single market you can ask for. Line shopping across multiple books, advanced data like matchup summaries, key metrics here, key hit rate data, as well as supporting stats to help you guys make better betting decisions. And my favorite thing also is their comparable numbers here. As you see what other players have done against the team. This is, I think, one of the best features they have here. You see what positions and the odds that those players had, and if they went under their lines. This is one of the best features of Outlier, absolutely. So make sure, if you're looking for a way to budget-friendly, make better betting decisions more efficiently, check out Outlier.bet. That link is under the tweet, the link of the tweet there. So click that link and start your 7-day free trial of Outlier. Boys, I'll see you all on stream tomorrow. It was a great one. We have a bunch of fun stuff locked in. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And if you're betting baseball tonight, best of luck with your MLB bets. Have